go. We are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. I just want to check my sound. I want to make sure everything's good. All right, I bumped the mic a little bit. My bad. All right. So we're live here, and I'm not going to be before you long. I'm actually just going to share my story. I'm going to try. I'm going to make it my business to share my story in under 20 minutes or less. All right. I wanted to make sure that I was clear, I was concise, and I didn't want to bore you. But I'm excited. I'm super freaking excited to share my story, get this off my chest to the public. To think, I want to thank some of my closest friends that actually helped me on this journey to get to this point where I feel free. I feel light. I feel it's been such an overarching indirect burden on me, just literally just trying to be able to identify what was my biggest problem, what was going on with it, and getting to the point where that now I'm the exoticpreneur. I understand my purpose, understand my calling, but also understand the process. I know the process of getting to this point is what I want to share with you, and how I become the exoticpreneur. The end result was easy, but what happened in between is what made it hard. Right? So once you get to the other side, you realize, like, dang, I went through all that just to get here. Oh man, it's crazy, right? So let's get to it. See, it all started back. Everything has a root. So understand that all of this, everything that we have, everything that we will continue to have, where my truth and where my purpose derived from is from how I was raised, how I came up. See, I was the oldest of 10 kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm the first male, firstborn of 10 kids. And my mother and my father, they got together, and they made it kind of work but not work. See, the reality of the situation is that they got married after I was born, and it just didn't go well. I mean, they just had two opposing point of views. My father was very successful in his construction business. My mother became a stay-at-home wife, but she wanted to do her own thing. But yet their ideals just didn't mesh, and it got my behind. So because of that, my mother ended up having about four more girls, well, three more girls. Ended up being a lot of girls. Right, just to sum it up, it ended up being a lot of girls. And to be honest, the way I perceive it and the way I understand it is that my mother hated my father. My mother really hated my father, like really bad. And I looked just like him, like split and freaking image, just like him. And whew, because of that, it put me in a space where that I live with my mother. Obviously, all of us live when you grow up in the 80s. You living at home. My father just worked, and my father went out and did his own thing. But when you're in a household where that the mother hates the father, and the whole family kind of work in that dynamic, you can basically imagine. I caught a lot of the bullshit. I caught a lot of the attitudes, fears, projections, rejections of being in that space. And my mother did whatever she had to do to survive, which put us in a survival space. However, it wasn't always the most advantageous place for a kid like me, who over time developed a complex of isolation. So what I wanted to do was, so what I ended up learning is that there are four core fears that we experience that no one's above this. It happens to every person on the planet, male, female. It does not matter. You are a human being. You're going to experience these fears, and these four fears that you're going to experience is going to be broken down into fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Now, the most popular, the most known ones are fight and flight. You know, if you back into it, you're in a fearful space, you're gonna fight, or you're gonna run away, right? Or you might freeze in situation. But there was a place of fawning. Now, in the survivors space, you know, imagine if you was in a war and your conqueror took over you, right? And when the conqueror took over you, they killed all the masculine people. They killed all the people that could fight. So, as a survival mechanism, what they would do, they would leave the women, right? And what would the women do? They will, the ones that don't have that fight in them, what they'll do, they'll fawn. And what is fawning? That means they will cater. They will would do whatever they have to do to survive, which means they would appease their oppressor so that they can live, so they can survive. So whatever you had to do to survive in that space, you would do. So that is fawning. That is basically what I did to survive. Is I developed a case to actually fawn and cater to whoever I needed to keep the peace. You know, eventually I developed a place of isolation. So in that behavior, I started rejecting everybody. I started isolating myself. I got caught up into academics. Science was my thing. Numbers, creativity. I actually wanted to be an animator. I love to draw. I love to sketch. I love the action, emotion. So becoming a 3D animator in my teen years was like the god awful thing. This is around when Pixar, not Pixar that you know today, but Pixar back in the day, back in 1998. You feel me? And I went off and tried to get into it. It didn't work, and it found myself still wanted to like fulfill my dream of being an artist, animator, and actually being actually a technical director. But so what I ended up doing was I opened a graphic design company called Perattis Graphic. That was my very first company ever, and I was selling graphic design for people. But it was scary. I was real nervous, and I just put out. Eventually, I ended up meeting a guy who became a manager of a.
What you doing, baby? Wait, listen, guys, listen. This is that driven, right? This for them, not for us. Every lady wants a man that's driven. Make sure you click the link in the bio, Mr. One. You know what time it is. Hey, driven to us, baby. It's driven.
This your boy Don Peter, gentlemen. Hey, look, man, this new scent right here, Elevation 420, is not even released, but it's been selling like hotcakes on the thing. So, as an added bonus for my fellas, look, if you go to drivenformen.com, look, you're going to get your whole driven bundle set, but as an added bonus just for me to you, because I know it's fire like that, it's been going like that, I'm going to give you Elevation 4. Yo, it ain't even been released yet. But yeah, here's the thing. If you ain't got to believe me, look, just check the reels, man.
My name is Tam, and I just received my driven bundle. Check it out. I love this. The best products I bought in a very long time. Give it a try.
With my man.
There you go. I told you. I said, brother. I said, it's number one. Preferred by women. Don't play. She want a driven man.
Don't get your windows bust out.
Say what you said.
The Evolution 420 smelling good. Got your boy smelling good. I'm looking good.
That part.
You know what's up.
I told you that they was going to rock with it. Listen, I ain't got a cap, dude. They love this stuff, and you need to have this on you. All right, so make sure you go to drivenformen.com, get the bundle, and like I told you, as an added bonus, I'm going to give you a free unreleased scent Elevation 420. That's my special gift for you, so you can keep getting it, keep going, keep staying in your purpose, man. Stay healthy. Let's get wealthy, man. Get the warning. Don't play before it release, because after that, it's no longer open for the public. So get the new release for Elevation 420. That's my free gift to y'all, man. Because trust me, the ladies gonna love it. All right, drivenformen.com. Hey, I'll see y'all later. Peace. I'm back. All right. So eventually, I meet a guy by the name of Ray, and you can look him up. He's a regional director of Don Diva magazine. Me and him clicked and linked up, and I ended up becoming an event photographer for them. We was doing all the biggest parties. This is in Detroit. We did the biggest parties. We was doing our thing, and it was fun. But again, I'm broke, so I'm hustling, and I found a way to hustle and kind of keep funding myself while I was working with the magazine. Eventually, he brought me into the gentleman's club industry. The gentleman's club, and this is where I found where I can use all of these skills I had in photography and I had in graphic design together. Now, let me skip. I jumped a little ahead. See, I met a guy right before I got into the gentleman's club industry. I met a guy by the name of Steve Ragland, and all gratitude comes from this person, this man, my first mentor. I don't know why I even jumped ahead like that, but he gave me the skill at the highest level of being a photographer, of learning the essence of capturing images and making people feel good about themselves, making them using the art of photography to increase people's self-image. And that was his mastery. He was already a master when I met him, and I apprenticed under him. And because I had graphic design already in my skill set from just being obsessed with trying to be an animator and design, but him adding that skill set to me put me in a category um, above the normal, especially in Detroit, because you only had those skill sets primarily in California and in Florida at the time. Mind you, this is during 1998 going into 2000. It was like retouching, as y'all know it today, did not exist. You had people like me who was retouchers. We were master retouchers. We did the body fixing and all of this stuff. So, and it was a high value skill at the time. It was a very valuable skill. We talking like big money. So because of that, I had an edge over everybody else when I got into the gentleman's club industry. I was a retoucher. I was a high fashion photographer who had the skill set, and I found a way for me to utilize my skill sets without no competition. So in that space, I was able to become somebody, even though I was nobody. Now, mind you, how I dress now is was not the way I dressed back then. I like polos, but I was trying to fit in. So if you take it back, when I growing up as a young man, I was not socially accepted. I was very socially awkward. I didn't have any clothing where my brothers and sisters had got new clothes because other people supported them. See, I didn't get that same luxury. Actually, I got hand-me-downs from my neighbor. So, and he was 6 foot tall. I was only 5'4" at the time. I was short, so all my stuff was baggy. It was bulky. It looked awkward. It developed a whole complex where that I didn't want to feel out of place, even though my brothers and sisters had more name brand stuff than I did. For whatever reason, I just started creating my own stuff, so I didn't want to feel like I was out there. I had a whole identity complex back then, but I didn't know what it was. I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be accepted. Needless to say, it made me do the exact same thing when I first got into the nightclub industry. Now, if you know anything about the gentleman's club, nightclub industry, in during the 2000s, that was hustlers. That was where the pimps hang. That's where the hustlers hang. That's where all the obviously the strippers hang. But the mindset was not the way it is now, where it was been magnified. But it was a place where that I can use all my skills, make them look good, and allow me to be accepted. Now that's when I seen my opportunity. I was like, I can win in this space, at least make some real money. You know, I did no idea, and I repeat, I had no idea how much of an impact that it became. Because fast forward a decade and a half later, I ended up becoming an owner and operator. So in that process, in that area of coming in as a photographer, graphic designer, eventually a marketer, I started learning the mindset that they had. Okay, I started learning what made them work, because I had no idea. Again, I'm socially awkward. I'm a choir boy. I played in the church. I studied the Bible through and through. I was trying to become what you call a perfect man based off of what I was taught, because I idolized Family Matters. I idolized the Cosby Show. I idolized the ideal of having the perfect relationship. So on the surface, I was trying to be the perfect man, but yet it put me in a space where that I was rejected, because even though I presented myself as being a provider, a protector, it still wasn't enough. Because growing up, I was rejected. They didn't accept me as that. I didn't know what that was. So when I got girlfriends, and they would start, being girls and mouthing about snapping, mouthing, I would just try to do better, be care. So most people would call that a simp. So I was simping. I had a lot of simp energy on me. I didn't understand why my father was very headstrong, like, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, I don't take this, I have a no nonsense. Meaning he had standards that if you didn't qualify for those standards, he wasn't fooling with you. Now, did I understand that at the time? No. Why? Because I grew up with a house full of women. So of course I developed, quite naturally, I was going to develop a point of actual complex within that space. Okay, and when you develop a complex within that space, it's going to become a problem, a big problem, because now it shows up in your relationships. Now, so if you were a man and you're like, well, why is he not man enough? Why is he not doing this? That's because you had simp energy, bro. You had simp energy. That's what they call it now. But realistically, you had an identity complex. You had an identity complex of like fear of losing her, or fear of rejection, and you were fawning. You was trying to make yourself things, and feminine energy don't respect it. And so when you're in a space where that you don't have any respect, they're going to use you, and they're going to make you, and then you have the potential of having a complex, and you start acting out, and you start trying to dominate. You do mean spirited stuff. See, I didn't know that at the time, but see, when I got in the bar, when I got into exotic entertainment, I seen the dynamics of how this worked, but I ain't wanted to use it the way they used it. See, they used it in a space of control. They used it in a place. They used they used it in a place of manipulation, and that was not my character. That was not even my person. Not at all. Not even close to it. It became an area where that I understood why they do what it did. I just didn't want to be that person. So what I did is I fashioned myself by still keeping integrity and character, because even in that industry, because I was their designer, I was their photographer, because I was their safe haven, where they wasn't performing for someone else. They was performing for someone else, where they exposed whatever parts of themselves to get the income. I was in their private space, so now they was not performing for the public. They was actually exposing themselves privately to me. So they had to be vulnerable in that space. So because they had to be vulnerable in that space, I had to create a safe haven for them so that I can become trusted. So one of the key things that becoming an exoticpreneur was learning how to be trustworthy, honorable, and have a level of character. See, in that industry, you can get a reputation real quick. So the complex that a lot of people do and let's be honest, if you was a fitness trainer, any fitness trainer, photographer, personal masseuse, there was always an intimate space. And when you're in an intimate space, there's a projection of unscrupulous activities in there. So a lot of people projected that energy on me as if I was going to be that, and because I wasn't that, I didn't let nobody project that on me. Instead, I made it my business. So intentionally, I made it my business to become the most trusted photographer, designer in that industry, point blank, period. Because at some point, and this is just a business tip on the side tip, if you're not trusted, you're not going to last. So you can make money early, but to last, mind you, I had a decade and a half of success in this industry. To last, you had to earn trust, you had to have character, and you had to have integrity, and it could not be compromisable, period. So these are the skill sets, these are the principles I developed and learned in the very industry that everybody on the surface demonized and hated, including my family. My family was the biggest ones that was like, they would talk about me. They would make me seem like I was this, because my mother couldn't stand it, obviously for obvious reasons. My mom couldn't stand it. She would consistently say, you're just like your daddy. You're going to be a hoe because you're a hoe. Not understanding that this was literally a business. It's literally, they pay me to do the work for them. But because I didn't understand it at the time, I literally was like, all right, well, whatever. Well, that eventually affected me to the point where it destroyed every relationship I had. So because I was losing personally, but I was winning professionally, I didn't give a shit, because I had money. Now, how many guys, and I'm talking to my guys now, how many guys and how many ladies, I ain't gonna talk to both of you, I'm just gonna talk to each one. How many of y'all experienced guys who just use their money to leverage themselves? How many ladies hated the fact that they was in a space where they had to work with a lot of had to have eyes open with other women? See, the thing is that those fears became my complex. Because I was making good money in this industry, I didn't give a dang if it affected you or not, because it was my business, it was my world, it was my space, and I was making so much money comfortably that why would I stop? Some people are saying it's no different than why would the street hustler keep hustling on the street? Because if he ain't got a job that can equivalently equate to his living situation, Why would he stop doing something that's taking care of the bills, even though he know the repercussions, even though he's some of us are prepared to take those repercussions without fear of failure. Without that, see, it hit different when you really do it versus the ones that was pretending to do it, act like them. See, I became exactly what everybody hated. Was I became that guy who was not playing. I became very aggressive in who I wanted to be because I was good. I was great at what I did, and it was successfully taking care of me. It was financially taking care of me. It protected me from all of this hatred, all of these fears that happened on the outside world. Because once you came into this world, you're in my lane, you're in my kingdom, and I'm king in this space. So since I was the king in my kingdom, there was nobody that I was going to allow to take away from me. And because of that, I developed I isolated myself in my own fears, where that now I've started becoming self-destructive or self-sabotatory to the very people that may have loved me. But it also helped me understand where their fears came and where mine stopped, and where my confidence that started being perceived as arrogance became developed. Because as Kevin Gates said it best, he said, "You always go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated." So of course, at this point, I'm no longer just a photographer and designer. Now I'm an event coordinator. Now I'm hosting events. Now I got notoriety. I'm now getting thousands of people coming to events of mine. Now I'm making money just off the strength of my name. I don't care who nobody is. When you're a person like me who never had no friends, didn't have no friends, was very socially awkward, had academic intelligence but no social intelligence, no emotional intelligence, no kinetic intelligence, no spiritual intelligence, but had spiritual knowledge, and I'm in a space where I got all of this stuff. It was not hard. It was not rocket science for me to get ingratiated. So if you understand that in regressive energy, or energies, or as in the Bible terms, in the biblical sense, they always talk about the trick of the enemy, where that once you gain the whole world, you lose your soul. Where see, I was in that space where that I had my own world, and my soul was always in turmoil. But I started normalizing or becoming okay with that. How many people can relate to the fact that you can relate to that? You can just start accepting unhealthy or unproductive behavior because it was good, it was safe, it was comfortable. See, I was that guy, and I became very comfortable in that space. But I also start seeing truths about other people. See, because when you're at the low and you're at the bottom, you see everybody for who they really are. Because once you pull off all that smiley face, once you pull off all those I'm this, I'm that, I'm not, I'm the shizness, that grandiose attitude which I developed and I was no exception to the rule. You pull those curtains back, now you see what it really is. You really are scary. You really are feared. You pay this woman to entertain you so that you can actually feel like a man. Some happens in this industry, but because I owned and operated men and women entertainment spaces, the women became very dominant, very belligerent. Why? Because now they can fight back or take their power back of being soft or law or under the submission of a man for whatever reasons, from wherever reasons. Now they was able to take their power back, and they was able to dominate the very man that they were in fear of. So because of that, when I started seeing the dynamics of this stuff, I started understanding that the people in the exotic entertainment industry, in the entertainment industry, were fearless. They were people who have faced their fears in the form of they stepped in front of total strangers and became naked physically. So think about that for a minute. Imagine being exposed, every part of you, your every part of you being literally exposed, from the mole on your left booty cheek to having 3 fingers, and people are looking at you, and some people are ingratiated or involved of it, and they're loving it. Then other people are repulsed by it, and you're still moving forward. Imagine how that feels. Doesn't feel good, do it? But these people in this industry took it and made it their power. They made it they created a aura around themselves where that they could not be hurt, even though everybody else has seen them. Because once you are out here, you're out here. Once people know what you are or know what you look like, it is what it is. See, so they faced a fear physically that most people don't even acknowledge psychologically or mentally. So when I learned that the mindset, and I started seeing that the mindset was facing your fears, but allowing yourself to be completely naked, allowing yourself to be completely vulnerable, was the nuance that I had to learn. It took me down a space where that now I had to get that power. So how did that happen? See, that happened when I got a vision. So in 2019, after having all this success, having all this fun, I got a vision from highest consciousness, cosmic consciousness, God, however you want to relate it to, that I was not going to make it to my 40th. I was not going to continue living if I didn't make a change, if I didn't leave this industry that I love so much, because I have my own kingdom. Imagine you got it all. You got everything that you always wanted. You had acceptance, you had respect, you have acknowledgement, you have very little resistance, you have access to any and everybody, from the celebrities to women that's volunteering themselves to just be close to you because of who you are, period, to nothing. That's a very hard pill. But yet in 2019, 2020, I had to do it because my fear kicked in, my fear of self-preservation. I didn't want to die. You know, mind you, I'm now a father. I'm now a father at this point. And me and my child's mother was going back and forth through all these different dynamics, but we were still working through this stuff because I didn't know how to be a good man while I was being a father, because I had this complex of I'm the shit, not calm. All y'all gotta do is just sit back and relax. So I went broke. I went down. I had to go back to zero, zilch, no name, no reputation, no credibility, no acknowledgement. I had to sleep on the floor. I had to lose one of the loves of my life, which ultimately gave me a premature heart attack. It affected me so bad that my health was now in order. It was now in turmoil. But during that time, in that dark area, in those dark spirits, was when highest consciousness found me and showed me that, hey, look, I need you to document this. I need you to share not what they did, but why they did it. Share the mindset that will impact anybody on the planet, that will impact what, actually not impact, but uncover the root of every part of them that's keeping them from their total greatness, from their ability to live at the highest level, to serve at the highest level, to love at the highest level, to achieve total greatness. But to do that, you got to go through this personally. You have to go through your purgatory, your true dark area. And in that, I had to see the demon that was within me. I had to discover who that demon was, call it out by name, and then release it by fighting it, by facing that motherfucker. But when I faced that motherfucker and started fighting, realized this demon knows all your tricks. This demon knew all of my angles, every area of where I was weak at, and used every tactic on the planet to keep me stuck in that purgatory spirit where it was a cycle. It took me 3 years to beat this demon. But in that process, higher conscious, the universe, God, was literally sending help in the form of my friend JD. My friend JD introduced me to a network marketing company. And within that network marketing company, mind you, I ain't had no money at this time. It's $0. I lost it all. I just had an image, a name, but no money. Okay. He introduced me to a network marketing company that specialized in health and wellness. And the name of the company is called Total Life Changes. And I didn't have the money to even sign up, but they had some special deal at the time. So I was able to borrow the money to get signed up in this network marketing company, which exposed how bad my physical health was in connection to my mental health. See, I ended up discovering that I was pre-diabetic and had high blood pressure. Even though I thought I'm thin. I'm very thin. I'm a very thin guy. It just runs in our genes. And I thought I was pretty healthy just because I didn't eat a whole lot of junk food. However, if you eat a lot of gentlemen's strip club food, it's rich. It's very rich. It's very greasy. It has a lot of butter and other like stuff so high blood pressure and diabetes is very, very, very common in that industry. To the point where that my health was on the line, my mental health was on the line. But getting involved with this network marketing company, I was able to discover where my health benefits were and how to heal myself. But while I'm going to healing my body, I still had to heal my mind. Now, because I had those previous skill sets of salesmanship from selling and sharing my skill set as a photographer, as a graphic designer, as a marketer, and becoming a manager, I already had those skill sets prior to joining this network marketing company. I did not know that this would be my path at the time. This would not be my path at the time to actually get into the right alignment of my spirit, because while I was in that network marketing company that I am still in to this day, I was bringing people in, I was recruiting people, but I was also selling a lot of product. And I'm selling this product, getting my life back in order, but I seen the first glimpse of what I was supposed to do. And that was because doing in that era, why I stayed in the industry so long is because I have having my own bar is I had a community. I had a place where that people can come and enjoy just me, enjoy the experience, enjoy the ambiance, enjoy the getaway. And I like being the person that provided it. I really love doing that. To the point where that it became my addiction to create some of the best experiences possible, professionally and privately. So when I would date the women, just off subject for a second, when I would date women, I would try to make sure she had the best experience with me as possible. Just point blank period. That was a part of my protection mechanism. Give her the best experience probably, so she will not forget me. You will not miss me in there. So there's understand that was a insecurity. That was a fear. Okay. So move forward, acknowledging that I like that experience, but now I'm broke, I'm busted, I'm disgusted, I'm fitness in. And if you go through my timeline, you will see me working out in these different places. My place got flooded. Now during this time while I'm working with this network marketing and getting my money back and getting my income back and getting some type of notoriety, I physically got hurt. I ended up having to get a job and everything. I physically got hurt. I ended up tearing my ligament and tearing my ligament, hurting my hip. My car breaks down. I almost got repoed. And all this happened in 1 year. But at the same time, one of the mentors that brought my boy into business in that network marketing company offered me an opportunity to get in the room with eventually becoming my actual mentor, my spiritual mentor. And her name is Natalie Nicole Smith. She opened the opportunity for me to get in a room with my actual mentor, my spiritual mentor, which his name is Myron Golden. You can look him up. He's a very high level business coach, and he spoke the language that I understood. But without my boy JD, the company that had the network company, without Natalie encouraging me to be a part of this conference that was put on by Netta Powell, I wouldn't be in front of you today speaking my truth, because within that dynamic of purgatory, higher consciousness is always going to send somebody. It's always going to be a message, a messenger, a mentor, a guide in that place to literally speak the language that you need to be speaking. So as they always say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. See, I was ready to find out what was going on, why I kept catching all this hell, continual hell after I walked away. I'm like, what is wrong? And it wasn't until I met him and embraced him and teaching the science of spiritual intelligence, the science of how God works in connection to how you work, is when it started clicking. Things start working together. So I'm documenting, as I was called to do. I'm documenting this process. I'm documenting what I'm supposed to do, but I'm also doing the work to still try to heal what's going on. Mind you, I still have no direction. Mind you, I'm just doing the business. I'm just selling my products, because why? I'm selling. I know how to sell. I know how to sell something that works. I won't put nothing in nobody's face that I don't do myself, and I won't use myself. So I'm selling the product. My body is in the best shape. I look good. I'm feeling good, but I still wasn't good, because I was still learning what was I missing, because I seen while I was in that community, and this is what's beautiful about how God works, how the universe, how highest conscious miracle, however you want to identify how the comedic energies in the God's work, that once you put yourself outside of your comfort zone and you get in the room with the people that's been where you've been, not financially, but emotionally, spiritually, you will start finding the little things that align your spirit with your mindset. So when your spirit and your mind aligns, your body is going to do the work. See, the biggest thing that a lot of us go through, including myself, was trying to figure out where the spiritual and the mind works together. How do we get that to work without conflicting, without messing it up? Because the body will only do what your mind tells it, and you get your direction from the spirit, right? From highest consciousness. So while I was in the room with the top money getters, top earners on the out here, like Myron Garland, 100 million, Stormy Welling, 50 million, Natalie Nicole Smith, 8 million, 10 million, my boy JD, half a million. You feel what I'm saying? Me, couple bands. You know what I'm saying? Couple bands, my damn self. You start learning the nuances that makes your spirit and your mind align. So when the Exoticprenuer's mindset started clicking for me, because I knew that I was called to work with a specific circle of people, I just didn't know how. I just knew that if I keep working it, it will work. As the leader teaches, all work works. It's either going to work on you, it's going to work in you, and then eventually it's going to start working for you. Now you can use this in any space. No matter if you work if you're in a gospel space, if you're in a Asiatic space, if you're in business, if you're in the atheist space, in the science space, it's gotta work on you. Meaning it's gonna work on your complex. It's gonna work on whatever. It's gonna expose the shit out of you. Then it's gonna have to start working in you. That means you're gonna have to start doing the internal work. You gotta start looking for the stuff. And when Myra started uncovering all of these different things, and Natalie started talking about her things, and then I started talking to people about the benefits of health and wealth, start realizing that my gut health was affecting my mental health. And it's scientifically proven that these are facts, these backed by truth, and then documented in all spiritual texts and all spiritual lanes in all religious areas. It started clicking that no longer was I supposed to stay in this place that I was before. Instead, I was supposed to apply the current implementations now and do it in without fear of persecution, without fear of failure. And as I started going into that process and working out and chipping away at 1% of my ego, 1% of my complex, 1% of my insecurities, 1% of my imposter syndrome, 1% of my fears of just not having a good relationship, 1% of my relationships with my mother, relationships with my father, relationships with my sisters and my family. We'll start chipping away at it. I started realizing all the fears was now that I was making up in my head that were very fucking real. See, a lot of people give you that complex of saying it's false evidence appearing real. That's only on the surface, but there are real fears that are happening because people have perspectives. You are raised, you have perspectives. It's one way or another. Either it's going to work for you or it's going to work against you. The only thing is that if you have the right perspective, you will be able to get the outcome that you're looking for. And so when I started learning that I had to unlearn every perspective that I had against the people that I love the most, I had to realize that my mom was not mad at me 100%, but it was just the programming of what she went through, and then what my father represented, and how that became the complex that she and eventually her, my family, my sisters end up imposing on me, so that I couldn't be mad at them. Why? Because they only did what made sense for them to protect themselves. And I represented my person, my character, and everything that on the surface represented what they hated the most. And that was just a guy that was very comfortable and confident in himself, who had intelligence in some form. In other forms, it was literally just my aura. You ever been in a room where that your aura just rocks people because you are who you are and everybody know it? And in the industry that I was working in, a lot of people didn't like me, but they still respected me. Why? Because I still did my job. I still was good at what I do. I actually was very great at what to do, but more importantly, I still had protection on me. I had a protection of power because of the confidence I had based off of what I was doing. Now, when you align that with your actual spiritual energy, you become very undefeatable. You become what I call unfuckwittable. Now, that does not come without persecution. That does not come out without a few battle wounds. But see, it does come with some perseverance. It does come with some character building. It does come with some development, because now you cannot be processed or pierced with the same bullshit that other people will hit you with. Now, there is a caveat to this. There also brings a space of that you have to be conscious of the fact of the matter that you're operating in the devil's world too, because you can become gaudy. You become very arrogant, and I did, and I had very arrogant because I had a complex of now being exposed as being not who I claim to be. I literally developed a imposter's complex to regular people because I was only good in one area. I was only successful in one area, and that complex translated to the regular people where then I didn't even know how to relate to them, because I was feared that they would judge me for coming from an industry that saved me. So when the Exoticprenuer mindset started working on me and eventually started working for me, I started realizing that it's not what I was going through, is what I needed to go through to become who I need to be there, and that's fearless. See, the Exoticprenuer's mindset is a fearless mindset. They mastered fear. They allowed themselves to become so vulnerable on a physical plane that you can affect them on a mental plane. And when those two align, your body is going to do the work. It's going to walk into a room of millionaires and present themselves without fear of failure. It allows them to walk up to a total stranger and present themselves without fear of failure, without fear of rejection, without fear of retribution. It allows the man or woman to be in a relationship that lasts 15, 20, 30 years without fear of them cheating on each other, without projecting those insecurities of fawning if they don't act right, I gotta save you, or the Superman complex of trying to save somebody, because women do it just like men do it. So the fact of the matter that it's got to be okay of setting a standard and a boundary, and then being okay that now you have to position yourself and be exactly what you claim to be, but align it where that now you're no longer fake or phony, which put only the best. I want to make sure I hit the mic. Sorry, y'all. Which puts you in a space where that where that authenticity, truth, honor, and respect, the essence of being 100 is uncompromisable. That anybody that's 99 will be exposed and want to go away. And that was the most free thing that I can ever share with you, that I can ever encounter, that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Why? Because if you are 100%, 100, it's going to show up in your work. It's going to show up in your person. It's going to show up in your relationships. Authenticity, truth, and being 100, thoroughbred, knowing why you do what you're doing it with character and integrity. Because in business, you can't stay in business if you're lying, if you're misleading, if you're mismanaging, if you're doing slick shit on the side. It don't last. And I did it and perceived to be the worst area. The only people that consider quote unquote worse than me, actually no. The hustlers got way more respect than I did and have, because I work with women. I work with men who expose their bodies for a living. I've been called everything but a child of God, but a person of integrity and character. I've been demonized on the highest levels. And I'm not asking for no type of empathy or sympathy, but just understanding that I know their fears. I've seen them in its truest form, but yet it don't faze me because I know what they are. They're fears. I only can stand on the truth that I did everything properly in person without breaking that little nuance of distrust, breaking that space of insecurity that no matter what I do, it was going to show up. Now, rather it becomes successful or unsuccessful was just literally the fact of being honest, being strong, being a person of valor and integrity, which is what my father definitely has and will forever be. Now, the thing is that I chose not to lie to nobody. I won't lie to people. So, of course, they'll put me in a space where a lot of people don't like me. It put me in a space where a lot of people don't want to accept it, because I'm only going to work in truth. Truth is the only thing that I know to set me free. The Bible says the truth shall set you free, right? I became obsessed with learning truth. But what is truth? Truth is a principle, a God-given principle that is never disproved, but only confirmed based off of the applications and understanding of it. For example, a plant will always grow if it's properly nourished, right? So if you water it, if you nurture it, if you protect it from all of the thorns, all of the animals, all of the things given it proper sunlight, it will successfully grow into a fruit-bearing plant, correct? So that's a truth backed by a fact. Anything that goes in between that to take away from it will now become a lie. It's how the parable that Jesus told to the people in regards to being a sower and a reaper. You reap what you sow. Whatever you in the thorns. I'm not really a good Bible scholar, but I know that when you reap stuff, you're going to sow for it. So I had to pay for all of the mishaps. I had to take acknowledgement and accountability for all of the people that I hurt along the way, not knowing that I was on a retaliation, retribution space because of my own fear. So I hurt some feelings in my with relationships that I had with the women that I loved on the surface, but couldn't get over the complex of how I felt as a child, as a man. That now I apologize to him. I made amends with all this. So there was a peace that had to come in front. So these are principles now. Going into the Exoticprenuer space and mastering fear, understanding every nuance of fear, every nuances of retaliation, retribution, isolation, rejection, knowing that fight, flight, freezing and fawning can be channeled, can be mastered, can be to churn and learn what the issue is, and then find the root and then solve it, so that you can move in your greatness. So that if you are in business and you have a fear of approaching people, how you can practice and learn the techniques to approach people with the proper product. If you're in a relationship and you're in fear of infidelity is showing up, you can address like, hey, if you do these things and your mannerisms are not operating in space, I have a problem with that. And if you can't correct that, then we're not going to have a healthy relationship. If you can get to those roots of those fears and identify them, master them, and do the corrective behaviors so that you move in your position of power, you will achieve total greatness. And that energy, that understanding, that mastery is what I stand by. It's what I live on. And that is truth. That is truth. That is the truth of when you successfully align your spirit with your mind, your body will do and attract every freaking thing you want it to be. From your successful in relationships to your successful in money and business and power and everything else you want to think. I've literally released and created my own fragrance line, print company, published the books, produces a podcast. All of these different things was added onto me, that was produced for me. Why? Because I no longer have been held bondage by the very thing that demon was trying to hold me up, and that was that demon of fear, that demon of control, that controlling demon that I held against everybody, but not acknowledging within myself. And once that was released, I stand before you today, the Exoticprenuer, Donald Perattis, as a man, a father, a brother that's defined by purpose, and I wear it with pride. Look, this is my story, and I pray that this helps you. I pray that it encourage you and impact you. If you want to tap into more and learn more about all of these different nuances, make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on my personal pages, Donald Perattis, DonaldPerattis, or go to my other Instagram page, which is the Exoticprenuer, where I just go and give you different reels and different things, 1 minute, 1.5 minute of how to actually master your fear. If you're looking for a coach, a wellness coach and a business coach, set up a consultation where we can give you a full strategy on how to master your fear, get your business in order with the proper systems that does not change, is backed by science, is backed by principles, has been doing it before me, and I'm just a messenger based off of what I went through and developing my skill sets from my industry. But the principles are still the same. The rules are identical. It was so powerful that the devil used the very same principles that God established for man to literally achieve greatness financially, socially, responsibly. The only difference, the 1% difference, is the devil wanted you to praise him and not acknowledge that the highest consciousness of God giving you that proper understanding. Because even the devil respects him. And for those that are Christians. Even the highest conscious in the Muslim, if you Muslim, Allah in the Kemetic energy, the the universe, the Ani and Aki, Adam. Don't get me down that path again. I respect all religions. I have no conflicts or conflicts with anybody's religious beliefs because I found it in every last one of the texts. I did the work. I did the text studies, the spiritual studies. So I want to relate to you as a human being who understands that these principles are universally sound because they're backed by all forms or beliefs. They are God-given beliefs, God-given principles, and I have learned what they are. I practice them. I live by them every day. So I only can teach from that space of principle based by the action. No matter what the technological era, it will still work. So if that's something that intrigues you, want to learn more, go to my website, donaldperattis.com, DONALDPERATTIS, and book your appointment. It's not it's a straight calendar. It's nothing to describe or distract. It's literally book yourself, book an appointment with me. It's no charge, and we can see if we can work together. And with that being said, I thank you again for taking the time to learn my story, see where it all comes together. With that being said, as always, I need you to stay healthy. Let us be wealthy. Don P out.